Welcome to the deep dive. We're kicking off today with a pretty fascinating look into football, but maybe from an angle you don't always see the numbers game.
Yeah, specifically, we've got this really detailed SmartBet AI analysis. It's for the upcoming MLS match, Inter Miami CF versus Orlando City SC. That's on May 18th, 2025.
Right. The game's at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, evening kickoff, and looks like clear but humid weather is expected, so classic Florida.
Exactly. And look, forget the usual pundit predictions for a minute. We're going really deep into a data-driven forecast here.
Think of this as your backstage pass, yeah.
Yeah.
To understand the stats and the algorithms trying to predict this specific match, we're not just scratching the surface.
No, definitely not.
Our goal today, our mission, if you like, is to really unpack this report. It's called the Match Analysis Report, the Gambler's Ruin Project powered by SmartBet AI technology.
Sounds impressive.
It does. So we want to figure out, how does this AI actually work? What's it looking at? And crucially, what does it tell us about this particular game?
Okay, so let's start with the SmartBet AI itself. What is it? The report calls it a comprehensive match prediction engine, and it's built just for the MLS.
Right.
And what's clever, I think, is its approach. It's multi-layered. It's not just using one single method.
Okay, multi-layered. Let's unpack that. Sounds sophisticated.
Yeah.
You mentioned Poisson regression for goals.
Yeah, Poisson for goal predictions,
Yeah.
which, makes sense. It's good for counting events like goals.
Okay.
But then it layers on machine learning classifiers for the actual match outcome, win, draw, loss.
Ah, so things like random forest, XG boost. I see MLP neural network mentioned too. That's getting quite advanced.
Exactly. These ML models, they're designed to spot patterns, complex relationships in the data that maybe simpler stats might miss.
Right.
And the range of stuff they feed into it is, well, it's pretty extensive. Bootstrap Poisson models, dynamic ELO ratings, and these ELO ratings even get adjusted for injuries.
That's a key detail, the injury adjustment. What else? You mentioned contextual features.
Yeah, contextual team features. So think about recent form, points per game, PPG, expected goals, XG, basically how good were the chances they created.
Okay, quality of chances, not just shots.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Then there's home or away advantage, the number of injuries they're carrying, how efficient they are at actually
The
scoring,
goal efficiency, you're right.
and even things derived from market betting odds. It pulls that in too.
So it's looking at what the betting markets think as well. Interesting.
Yeah, and they also mention using stuff like fuzzy matching and Unicode normalization, basically ways to make sure the data they're using is clean and accurate.
Which has got to be fundamental, right? If the data is messy, the predictions won't be reliable.
Absolutely. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
So you mentioned ELO readings earlier. We hear that term a lot in sports, chess too, I think. Why are they important here?
Well, ELO gives you this dynamic measure of a team's strength. It's not static like a league table. It changes after every single match. So teams usually start around a benchmark, maybe 1,500 points. Then they gain or lose points depending on, do they win, lose, or draw? And crucially, how strong was the opponent they just played?
Ah, right. So beating a top team gets you more points than beating a team at the bottom.
Exactly that. It captures that relative strength. And as we said, for this SmartBet AI, these ELOs are even adjusted for reported injuries. That adds another layer.
Okay, so what are the specific ELO ratings for this match?
Right. So for Inter Miami playing at home, their adjusted ELO is 1,546.988.
Okay.
In Orlando City, playing away, they're at 1,534.04.
So a small edge to Miami there, according to the ELO system, about 13 points.
It's a slight edge, yeah. And the value of ELO is that it gives a more nuanced picture than just, say, looking at the last 5 games.
Yeah.
It helps analyze that underlying strength and potentially forecast performance better.
Makes sense. It's looking beyond just the immediate results. Okay, so that's team strength via ELO. Now let's get back to predicting goals. You mentioned Poisson regression. Can you break that down a bit more simply for those of us who aren't statisticians?
Sure. Think of it like this. It's a way to estimate how many times something is likely to happen, in our case, goals, given certain factors.
Okay, factors like?
Well, in this MLS model, it's looking at that recent form we talked about, PPG, offensive and defensive strength, maybe tied to XG, the home advantage, those betting market odds, again, injuries, and the ELO ratings themselves.
Got it. So it takes all that in.
And assumes that the number of goals a team scores will roughly follow this specific pattern, this Poisson distribution, based on an expected rate, which the model calculates. They often call that rate lambda.
Lambda, right, okay.
Okay.
And the report gives summaries for this.
It does. For the home Poisson model summary, that's Inter Miami, it predicts 1.47 goals.
Okay, almost 1.5 goals for Miami.
Yeah. And interestingly, it notes that the market probability of a home win is a significant positive factor for this prediction. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, if the market thinks Miami will win, the model expects them to score more. Logical.
Conversely, the market probability of the total goals being under 2.5 is a significant negative factor.
Also makes sense. If the market expects a low-scoring game, the model predicts fewer goals for Miami. What about Orlando?
For the away Panan model summary, it predicts 1.12 goals for Orlando Sai.
So slightly fewer expected goals for the away team.
Correct. And here, the significant positive factors are things like Orlando's own expected goals, their away XG, the market probability of an away win, the probability of both teams scoring, BTPS, and the probability of over 2.5 goals.
Interesting. So things predicting a more open game or an Orlando win push their expected goals up.
Exactly. And again, that market probability of under 2.5 goals pushes their predicted score down. This is a significant negative factor here, too.
So it seems like different drivers for each team's prediction, reflecting maybe their style or how the market sees their chances in this specific matchup. Now, the report also mentions bootstrapped Poisson regression. Sounds complex. What's that adding?
Right. That's basically about dealing with uncertainty. Instead of just giving one number, like 1.47 goals.
Which is impossible anyway. You can't score 1.47 goals.
Precisely. The bootstrap method runs something like 1,000 simulations of the goal scoring process. It uses that initial predicted rate, like 1.47, but introduces randomness based on the Poisson distribution.
Okay, so it's like playing the scoring part of the game statistically 1,000 times over to see what kind of scores pop up.
That's a good way to put it. It gives us a range of plausible outcomes, not just one average number. So for Miami, the bootstrap prediction is actually 1.42 goals, very close to the initial one.
Okay.
But critically, it gives a 95% confidence interval between 0 and 4 goals.
0 to 4, that's quite a wide range.
Yeah, it is. And for Orlando City, the bootstrap prediction is 1.17 goals, again with a 95% confidence interval of 0 to 4 goals.
So that really underscores the inherent unpredictability, doesn't it? Even with all this data, the most likely range still spans from getting shut out to scoring quite a few.
Exactly. It shows the possibilities. Okay, so that covers the goal predictions and their uncertainty. Now let's switch to predicting the overall match result. Home win, draw, or away win. This is where those machine learning classifiers kick in.
Right. The first one mentioned was random forest. What's the basic idea there? I think I have a vague sense.
Well, random forest, you can think of it like building a whole bunch of different decision trees. Each tree looks at the data slightly differently and makes a prediction.
Like getting lots of different opinions.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the model takes a sort of vote or averages the results from all these trees. It's called an ensemble method. And the idea is it's generally more robust and accurate than just relying on one single decision tree.
Okay, makes sense. Strength in numbers. And what data does it use for this MLS model?
It uses a lot of the same stuff we've discussed. Team form, PPG, XG, those adjusted ELO ratings, injury counts, goal stats, betting odds.
A whole suite.
Pretty much. And they also mention using a technique called SMOT.
Ah, SMOT. I remember reading about that. It's for handling imbalanced data, right? Like maybe there aren't as many draws historically as wins or losses.
Exactly. SMOT helps balance the training data so the model doesn't just learn to always predict the most common outcome. It artificially creates more examples of the rarer outcomes, like draws.
Clever. So what did the random forest predict for Miami versus Orlando?
The random forest model predicts a home win for Inter Miami.
Okay, first model points to Miami. Does it give any stats on how confident it is or how well it usually performs?
It does. The report includes a classification report. Let's see. For predicting away wins, its precision was 0.58, recall 0.63. For draws, precision 0.57, recall 0.50, so it struggles a bit more finding draws.
Right.
And for home wins, precision 0.53, recall 0.55. The overall accuracy of the model is listed as 0.56.
So 56% accuracy overall. Not perfect, but definitely leaning towards that home win prediction being the most likely, according to this model. Okay, next up was XG boost. How's that different?
XG boost, that stands for extreme gradient boosting. It's also based on decision trees, but it builds them sequentially.
Sequentially, how so?
Well, each new tree it builds tries specifically to correct the errors that the previous trees made. It's like a team of learners where each new member focuses on the mistakes of the last one. It's often very, very accurate in practice.
Right, it's known for winning competitions, isn't it?
It is. And again, similar training data, use of SMOT and optimization techniques like grid search to find the best settings for the model.
And the XG boost prediction for this match?
Also a home win for Miami.
Okay, consistency developing here. How do its performance numbers look compared to random forest?
They're slightly better, actually. For away wins, which it labels as 0, precision 0.59, recall 0.64. For draws 1, precision 0.56, recall 0.61. And for home wins 2, precision 0.63, recall 0.57.
So higher precision on predicting home wins compared to random forest.
Yep. And the overall accuracy is a bit higher, too, at 0.59. So this model seems slightly more confident, you could say.
Interesting. So 2 models down, both pointing to Miami. Then we get to the MLP neural network. This sounds like the heavy hitter.
It can be, yeah. MLP stands for multi-layer perceptron. It's a type of neural network inspired by how the brain works, with layers of interconnected nodes or neurons. It's very good at learning really complex, nonlinear patterns in data.
So it's looking for deeper connections in the stats.
Potentially, yes. It takes in a whole range of features: team stats, market odds, ELO, maybe even some player-level stuff mentioned in the report summary. And again, trained using SMOD and careful tuning of its settings.
And its prediction? Don't tell me.
Well,
You're a win.
You guessed it. The MLP also predicts a home win.
Okay, 3 for 3. What about its performance metrics?
Let's see. For away wins, precision 0.54, recall 0.54. For draws 1, precision of 0.54, recall 0.54. And for home wins 2, precision 0.51. But look at this, it recalls 0.76.
Whoa, 0.76 recall for home wins.
Yeah.
That's much higher than the others. What does that mean exactly?
High recall means that when a home win actually happens, this model is very likely to correctly identify it. It might misclassify some non-home wins as home wins sometimes, hence the lower precision of 0.51, but it's good at finding the actual home wins.
Okay, so it's maybe a bit more optimistic about home wins, but good at catching them when they occur. Overall accuracy?
Overall accuracy is 0.56, same as the random forest.
Fascinating how these different methods, random forest, XG boost, neural network, all arrive at home win, but show slightly different strengths and weaknesses in their predictions.
Exactly. They learn differently. But the consensus is clear so far.
But it doesn't stop there, does it? The report mentions a stacked ensemble prediction. What on earth is that?
Stacking. It's basically like creating a supermodel or a meta model.
Okay.
You take the predictions from the individual models we just talked about, the random forest, XG boost, MLP, and you use those predictions as input for another machine learning model.
So a model trained on the outputs of other models.
Precisely. This meta model learns how to best combine the predictions from the base models, trying to leverage the strengths of each one to hopefully get an even better overall prediction.
Right, so it's trying to be smarter than any individual model by learning how they perform together. What did the stacked model predict?
No surprises here. It also predicts a home win for Inter Miami.
Okay, the consensus holds firm. How were its performance metrics? Did stacking significantly improve things?
The overall accuracy was 0.57, so a tiny bit better than random forest and MLP, but slightly lower than XG Boost's 0.59 in this specific case. The precision and recall for each class was sort of averaged out amongst the base models. For home wins, too, it had 0.55 precision and 0.54 recall.
So stacking didn't produce a dramatic leap in accuracy here, but it kind of consolidates the findings.
Yeah, it provides a sort of weighted consensus prediction, still pointing strongly towards Miami.
Okay, so multiple advanced models plus a combination of them, all leaning towards a Miami victory. But there's one more step mentioned, a Monte Carlo simulation. What does that add to the picture?
Right, the Monte Carlo simulations takes us back to those initial Poisson goal predictions, a 1.47 for Miami and 1.12 for Orlando.
Okay.
It then simulates the entire match outcome thousands of times. The report says 10,000 times.
10,000 simulated matches. Wow.
Yeah. In each simulation, it randomly generates the number of goals for Miami based on its 1.47 rate using the Poisson distribution, and does the same for Orlando based on its 1.12 rate.
So it's playing out the game 10,000 times based on those expected goal rates to see what the most common results are.
Exactly. It gives us a probability distribution of the final outcomes, home win, draw, away win, based purely on those goal-scoring expectations. It's a different perspective than the classifiers.
And what probabilities did the 10,000 simulations come up with?
Okay, so based on the Monte Carlo simulation, a home win for Inter Miami has a probability of 45.17%.
Okay, just under half. That feels maybe less certain than the classifiers suggested.
Well, it's quantifying it differently. It also gives probabilities for the other outcomes. A draw comes out at 28.79%.
Nearly 29% chance of a draw. That's significant.
It is. And an away win for Orlando City is calculated at 26.04%.
Right. So roughly 45% Miami win, 29% draw, 26% Orlando win. That paints a slightly more nuanced picture. Does it suggest likely scorelines?
It does. Based on the simulations, the single most probable scoreline is 1-0 to Miami, with a probability of 12.22%.
Okay, 1-0 Miami most likely.
The most likely draw scoreline is 1-1, with an 11.18% probability.
Also quite high.
And for an Orlando win, the examples given are 2-0 away win at 8.65% probability and a 2-1 away win at 8.51% probability.
So the simulation confirms Miami as the favorite, but really highlights that a draw is a strong possibility, and you definitely can't rule out an Orlando win based on these goal probabilities.
Precisely. It grounds the prediction in the expected goal flows. Now, one crucial piece of context we need to factor in is injuries. What does the report say there?
Right, player availability, always key. The report states that Inter Miami CF has no injuries reported for this match.
Okay, clean bill of health for the home team. That's significant.
It is. Orlando City, however, has 2 players listed. Fabian Loyola, out with thigh injury, and Yutaro Sukata with a knee injury. No expected return dates given, just that they're out.
Okay, 2 missing for Orlando. And it's worth remembering, as we said earlier, that the ELO ratings used in all these models were adjusted for these specific injuries.
Good reminder. So their absence is already baked into the cake, so to speak, within the analysis we've discussed.
Exactly. So we try and pull all this together, this deep dive into the SmartBet AI analysis, looking at the Inter Miami versus Orlando City game on May 18th. Well, it definitely leans towards a home win for Inter Miami.
Yeah, that came through loud and clear from the machine learning models, Ranifores, XG Boost, MLP, the stacked ensemble.
That's not a slam dunk, is it?
No, definitely not. That Monte Carlo simulation, based on the expected goals, gives Miami less than a 50% chance of winning. It puts a probability of a draw close to 30%.
And an Orlando win still very much in play at around 26%. So the AI points towards Miami, but acknowledges significant chances for the other outcomes.
In this whole analysis, it's pulling together so much data, isn't it? Historical performance, those dynamic ELO ratings, the injury situation, even what the betting markets are thinking.
It's a comprehensive attempt to model the game, for sure.
Yeah. So here's something maybe for you, the listener, to chew on. We know Inter Miami has no reported injuries, while Orlando City is missing Loyola and Sukata. We also know the models have tried to account for this.
Right, through the ELO adjustments.
But think about the real-world impact. How might those specific absences affect Orlando's game plan or Miami's approach? Could there be tactical shifts or psychological effects that go beyond what these statistical models, sophisticated as they are, can fully capture?
That's always the fascinating part, isn't it? The intersection of the data and the unpredictable human element of sport.
Exactly. So we hope this deep dive has given you a valuable perspective, a different way to look at this upcoming MLS match, and maybe a peek into how AI is being used in sports analysis now.
Yeah. What stood out most to you from all of this? Did anything surprise you?
Maybe it sparked some further questions in your own mind. Definitely something to think about as you watch the game.